All right, today we're jumping into a huge debate that's pitting a viral, kind of dystopian vision of our AI future against the cold, hard data of Wall Street. This is a massive clash over what happens next to our economy, and it was all kicked off by one essay that just exploded online.
And it all started with this one kind of chilling question. It comes from a speculative essay by a firm called Citrini Research, and they framed it as if it were a memo written from a chaotic future from the year 2028. And believe me, this piece of, let's call it financial fiction, sent very real shockwaves across the entire financial world.
Okay, so let's really get into it. The core idea from Citrini is this terrifying negative feedback loop that they call the human intelligence displacement spiral. The whole idea is that the very success of AI could be the thing that actually triggers our economy's collapse.
So here's how they picture it playing out. It's this cascading failure where companies lay people off to save a buck, then they take those savings and buy more of the exact AI that lets them lay off even more people. You see the problem? It creates this death spiral where consumer spending just craters, which then forces companies to double down again on AI just to survive. The whole thing accelerates and there's no natural break to stop it. In their story, this whole spiral leads to a full-blown crisis in just a couple of years. It starts with the market soaring, but then it unravels fast into a crash, mass unemployment, and defaults that threaten everything from private credit. You know, the loans made by investment firms instead of banks, all the way to the mortgage market.
But then this heavyweight Citadel Securities, and these are the guys who basically help keep the financial markets running smoothly, they fired back hard. They put out this blistering report that basically said this whole doomsday scenario isn't just wrong, it's based on a complete misunderstanding of how technology and our economy actually work. So how did Citadel even start to push back on this? Well, it all begins with the first major clash. What's actually happening with jobs right now, today? This is where they really start their takedown.
So you have the doomsday memo claiming the collapse is already happening, especially in the world of software. But Citadel comes back and says, hold on a second, and points to real-time data from the job site Indeed that shows the complete opposite is happening. Demand for software engineers isn't just stable, it's growing, and it's growing fast.
And this single number right here is what's so interesting. 11%. It directly punches a hole in the core idea that this displacement spiral has already kicked off. According to the data, that first crucial domino hasn't even tipped over. And look, it's not just about hiring numbers. When you look at data from the St. Louis Fed, it shows that the day-to-day real-world use of AI at work, it just isn't accelerating at the lightning speed this whole doomsday scenario depends on. That mass adoption they're worried about, it's just not there yet. But really, this whole debate goes way deeper than just the job numbers for today. It's really about two totally different views of how our economy actually works and, more importantly, how it deals with powerful new technology. Okay, so Citrini's theory basically treats AI like it's this unstoppable force of nature that just happens overnight. But Citadel says, hang on, that's not how technology has ever worked. They argue that every major tech revolution, from electricity to the internet, follows this much slower, more predictable S-curve. You know, it's limited by real-world things like the cost of building data centers and just getting enough energy to power them. Which brings us to Citadel's next point, and they illustrate it with this really great question. Think about it. Was Microsoft Office a complement or a substitute for office workers? They ask this because history is just filled with technologies that were supposed to destroy jobs, but actually ended up making them better. Microsoft Office didn't replace office workers. It made them way, way more productive. Now, there is a kind of middle ground here that some economists point to. It's called Engel's pause. And the idea here is, okay, maybe the jobs don't all disappear, but what if all those massive productivity gains from AI just flow straight to the corporations and their profits, while wages for actual workers just kind of flatline or even go down? So the economy grows, but most people don't actually feel it. So you have to ask, right? Is this panic new? Have we seen anything like this before? Well, Citadel says, oh yeah, absolutely. And they point to a super famous prediction from one of the greatest economists who ever lived. So get this, almost 100 years ago, the legendary John Maynard Keynes looked at the tech of his time, stuff we'd consider ancient now, and he predicted we'd all be working 15-hour weeks by this point. Why? Because he saw productivity just soaring and figured, well, there just won't be enough work to go around for everyone. And here's the thing, he was totally right about productivity. It went through the roof. But he was completely, utterly wrong about jobs. And the reason, Citadel argues, is that he totally underestimated human nature. As we got richer and more efficient, we didn't just decide to work less and call it a day. No way. We just invented new things we wanted, new services to try, and whole new industries to make them happen.
And that really brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Citadel is basically saying the doomsday folks are making the exact same mistake Keynes did. They think AI is just going to create a whole new world of wants and jobs we can't even dream up yet. But the other side argues this time is different, that AI isn't like a tractor or a spreadsheet. It's something that can think, something that can do the very cognitive jobs we always thought were safe. So are we just turning another page in the same old book of technological change? Or have we finally actually reached the very last chapter?